Hey guys, we are here with Abhay Rangan. Just tell us about yourself, man.
So I'm 21 years old. I run a plant-based company that manufactures. No wait. I'm 21 years old. I'm 21 years. What? I'm 21 years old and I run a company called Goodmylk. We make plant-based food affordable and accessible in India.
Cool. So, how did you start off? What was your journey when you started off as a? Why veganism? Why veganism especially?
I think it was my parents. So they turned vegan on their wedding anniversary 8 years ago,
Okay.
and they inspired my sister and I to start looking at it seriously as well.
Okay.
And 6 months later, my sister and I turned vegan on New Year's.
Okay.
So that's how it started for me. But I've always been this ambitious guy who wanted to minimize my harm in the world and make my good larger. It started with sort of running a non-profit for animals that resulted in me doing activism on the streets along with a bunch of youth volunteers across the country.
Okay.
On the streets, a lot of people would come to me and say vegan options are expensive.
Okay.
That's why we're not able to be vegan. That was one of those few arguments that I could not really find answers to at that point.
Okay.
I'm good at debate and I'm supposed to win arguments, but this was one argument I could not win.
Okay.
So I went back home and spoke to my parents about doing something to make this problem go away.
Okay.
And that's how Goodmylk started, and that's like in short been my journey from not being vegan to running a venture in this space.
So, what drives you to be a vegan? So, what is that sexy factor in terms of being a vegan? If you had to list out like 3-4 points in that.
I guess impact is what I care about, and in my existence on this planet, what I want to do is essentially two things: minimize suffering, increase happiness.
Okay.
And to me, I think veganism is an awesome way to do that. You can't just increase happiness and not look at the suffering aspect, because it is important how we minimize it. And I think being vegan to me is a way of doing that.
That's pretty cool, man. And you are a musician as well, right?
That is right. I've been learning Carnatic music for 18 years now,
Okay.
and I've been performing for 9 years now. Yeah.
Pretty cool. So, what have you done in terms of as a musician? Is there any correlation between music and veganism? So, for you,
That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that, I guess. So, I've tried singing in English compositions that might relate to animal rights. I've not been very good at it.
Okay.
So, to me, I think what I'm best at doing is singing Carnatic music for myself at least. And I'm yet to find avenues to channel that in the animal rights domain.
Okay.
I don't know yet.
Okay, pretty cool. And also, your dad has invented some kind of a new instrument, right?
It's not, I mean, it's new in the sense that it replaces animal skill in traditional instruments.
Okay.
So there's the mridangam and the tabla, both of which are used extensively in Indian music.
Okay.
Both of them use animal skins and animal hide and wood as important components of their composition. My father invented a version of them that doesn't use animal skins or wood and produces the same sound.
Okay.
So he's invented a synthetic mridangam and a synthetic tabla, both of which are being used in concerts around the world today.
Okay, cool. So, just be frank with me, like really frank with me. So, as a vegan, I know it's really hard to bring that up in India, especially with all the fixed thing and all that, right? So, how hard has your journey been, especially?
Well,
Or has it been like really easy?
I think my journey has been great because also my parents were vegan. But I think the overarching theme is community, right? So if you're vegan and you don't have other vegans to talk to, it might just be all that hard, especially when people tell you what you're doing is stupid or impractical or all that. So I think my parents being vegan has been fantastic, but also I think it ties larger into like me being part of the right communities that supported me. And I think being vegan is easy in terms of accessing the right products, food, cosmetics, etc.
Okay.
But accessing the right community, I think, is the key to being vegan easily.
Okay. So if you had to list out 5 say hurdles which you had to take over, or if you had to overcome these 5 hurdles in your journey as an entrepreneur, what would those 5 hurdles be?
As an entrepreneur, I think, so I don't come from a business family, so I don't really have business in my blood, right? So a lot of people speak about that being important. I guess to me, I had to learn a lot about the fundamentals of what it means to run a business, and it's still work in progress, right? I'm not like an awesome entrepreneur yet.
It's a constant growth process.
It's always work in progress. So I think not knowing enough was my first hurdle. The second one was not knowing how hard it would be.
Okay.
I really thought it would potentially, starting out very earlier on, that it would just be sort of telling people what to do and expecting them to get it done in their timelines per the contract that you signed with them.
Okay.
But the reality is very different. I think especially because in this country it might be a little harder to enforce contracts. So, you know, relationships are key, not contracts. So to me, sort of that realization was a little difficult. And of course, when we didn't have the resources that we have today, I think me handling the deliveries personally was a real challenge. I was traveling 500 kilometers a week in Bangalore, and in that traffic after coming back home from college, which is in Whitefield. So that traffic part was like so annoying, and it really took a toll on my health at that point.
The Bangalore traffic, by the way, yeah.
And I think it was also the difficulty of seeing my mother work so hard.
Okay.
You know, she's worked phenomenally hard for this company, and you know, just being in that position to see her do all the work and not be able to do anything about it has been probably my biggest challenge.
Okay.
And I think so. Demand isn't really a problem in the plant-based space. Supply is a problem.
Okay.
There isn't a shortage of people who want to access high quality plant-based products, replace quality with value, high value plant-based products. But getting to be able to service that demand has been a challenge in terms of learning how to do manufacturing, what are the best distribution avenues, how do you do that without throwing your margins in the toilet.
So optimizing like a supply chain, is it?
Yeah, that has been also a challenge, maybe because I didn't know much about it, but you know, learning about it has been very interesting and rewarding, but not doing it while not knowing it has been challenging.
So tell me one thing, so you said you had to learn by yourself, right? So for all these entrepreneurs out there who, even for me especially, there's no typical definition or like a handbook for entrepreneurship, right? So how do you learn about all these terms, or basically how to start up, and what are the different terms in entrepreneurship like valuation and blah blah blah, all these different words. So how did you, was it like a experience through experience, or did you have to go through attend some workshops or attend a few meetings or meet a few people and learn about these things?
I think there are some good resources online. So for one, I read this blog called forentrepreneurs.com.
Okay.
It's really good. It's by, I think, someone really important with Matrix Partners.
Okay.
I think that has been a very good resource for me in learning about what I should be doing at what stage of the company.
Okay.
And with respect to like valuation and all of these things, I think it's okay to not know about it until, say, you're ready to fundraise. So I didn't really know much about it until the point of time I started looking into fundraising and reading articles about it. I've not attended any special workshops. I think the internet is fantastic as a way to learn. And if you read 5 blogs about it, chances are you'll probably know as much of it as you need to. I sort of think of myself as a plant-based marketer within my own organization.
Okay.
So for me, I've taken specific courses to get better at marketing.
Okay.
But I know that role itself will change as the company grows.
Okay. So we're back after the commercial break. So cool. So as Mark Cuban would say, what is your core competency? Core competency.
I think, and this hasn't been proven fully, but you know, marketing is something I'm trying to become an expert at. But what I really think I'm good at doing is evangelizing.
Okay.
So I think I can inspire the right talent to work at my company.
Okay.
And sort of get them to quit comfortable corporate jobs to work in the brutal environment that a startup is. So I think the ability to reach out to community, build a community, add value to that community, and sort of draw talent, attract talent from that community is probably one of my biggest strengths. I don't know for sure at this point, but that's something that
I think that's how we met as well, right? On Facebook, you posted something which for me was like pretty impactful. So I just took it up and I contacted him saying, dude, what you're doing is really great and I want to keep in touch. And I think that's where it all stemmed from, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. So it's been what, 2 years, right, since we've been in touch?
Yeah, it's been 2 years, but also...
And this is the first time I'm meeting, by the way. Full disclosure. Cool. So, tell me one thing. If for the other people who are starting entrepreneurship in the field of like a entrepreneur, what is that advice which you would give them, and give us some positives and negatives of the field?
I'll start with the negatives. Good to start with bad news always.
Yes.
So, if you're starting with plant-based food, you'll understand that manufacturing is difficult. So, the regulation landscape is tricky, and finding the right commercial manufacturers for a small-scale company is really hard.
Okay.
And a lot of the times you can't enforce any of your contracts because you're small and the manufacturer is usually much larger. So, and there isn't a robust co-packing system available yet.
Okay.
So, if you want to do a Tetra Pak product, you might find it really, really hard to do so in this country. Of course, and the landscape is changing, it's evolving. We've been able to find commercial manufacturers for our product, and we're very happy to be able to work with them. But the challenge could be that this is one hurdle you will definitely face.
Okay.
In terms of opportunities in the marketplace, I think the demand for plant-based products is growing eternally. It's growing in leaps and bounds, and India is a country that has so many people who want this type of product. So I always keep saying that demand isn't the problem. So that way you have a market of people who are willing to pay for your product and potentially pay a premium for this kind of product. Not that that's what we're after, but if you want to add value to the space in different ways, there are ways of doing that, and there are people who will pay to people will pay to get it done. So I think those are like my biggest pros and cons that I see in the marketplace right now. My advice would be to actually just go ahead and get started. People don't do that, right? So people expect to have the co-packer ready.
A lot of conceptualization.
They expect to have everything in place. Even now as a company, and we've been around for 3 years, we're still figuring out so many things. And there's never going to be a perfect time to start your company, launch a product, do all of that.
Okay.
Sure, you got to do those minimal things to sort of even survive in the first place.
Yeah.
But I think the inability to act is probably what's keeping most wantrepreneurs from becoming entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And that sort of is true for plantrepreneurs as well.
It's pretty cool. So in terms of, I know this is not sexy for you, so in terms of valuation and funding on that, so just tell us a story about that. You went to America, right? United States of America, sorry. So what was the journey for that, and what was the reason behind that, and how did that all?
I didn't actually go there to fundraise, I went there to network. Okay. So I knew I'd been Boulder, Colorado, which is the hub of natural foods as an industry. And I went there so that I could meet with executives of large plant-based companies, and I'm lucky to have been able to access them.
Okay.
So that was really why I went. So we had already closed our seed round before I went to the United States.
Okay.
So I didn't go there to fundraise.
Okay. And the investor was?
He lives in Dallas. He's an animal rights activist as well.
Okay, cool. And you raised how much?
We raised $400,000.
It's pretty cool. Moolah. Okay. So if there is one thing which you had to give out to all the people who are budding or starting, one particular sentence which all of them should follow, or which seems right, or which they should follow, what is that one thing which you want to tell them?
Adding value is what will keep you in business. Nothing else will.
Okay. Yeah. Pretty cool. So I've been a hardcore non-vegetarian, and I'm guilty of that. So if you had to suggest, or what is if like Thanos, you had to push me towards this thing to take that side, because I want to do that. Let me be clear. So what is that one thing which you would tell me, or what is that one thing which would motivate me to take that effort, to put in that effort to be a vegan?
Not knowing the context, it might be a little harder. But knowing your context, wait, is it okay if I bring your context?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I know we spoke about.
I'm an IR, by the way, so full disclosure.
I know we spoke about footprint being
Yes.
important. Footprint is important to me in terms of minimizing it, in terms of suffering, maximizing the amount of good I do in the world, and that word is pretty relevant to this conversation, because humans kill more than 2 trillion animals every year. That is more than the number of stars in our galaxy. So the amount of animal lives that are extinguished because of animal agriculture, not because of any need. Humans have stopped needing to consume animals for a very, very long time now, and just knowing that this doesn't have to be that way, and knowing that our non-participation in the exploitation of animals is the first step to getting that number to zero.
Okay.
Is potentially what could motivate someone with motivations as yours.
Okay.
I think it depends on a lot of people's different views. So a lot of people are animal lovers. So I tell them that dogs and cats are individuals, and so are cows, hens, pigs, turkeys, goats, and they all deserve equal consideration.
Yeah.
And I think they all deserve to live free from suffering. But it also really I think comes down to justice. So if animals are individuals, animals suffer in the production of animal products. We don't need to consume animal products. Therefore, we shouldn't be consuming animal products. So that's the logic I use when I'm talking to someone about this. It could potentially draw more conversation around all of these things. But yeah, I would say, again, as it's true with entrepreneurship, just go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for the time to be perfect. People like, you can't wait for Rahu Kala to get over, and that you would do this at this one time and it'll all work out for you. I think
so it's that first step which matters.
The way I would do it is tell people I'm vegan on social media, and that would usually come.
That will give you a commitment, actually. I tend to do that as well.
So every time I start a video series or a podcast, I say, guess what, I'm starting this, follow me for this. That way, for one, it motivates me to also stick to it, and two, there is an expectation of me from other people to stick to it, which might be potentially more motivating than my own expectations to stick to something.
Okay, cool. To Abhay's talk or advice on veganism, I promise or I commit myself to at least 1 week as my first step of going vegan. Let's see how that goes. We're going to try and document that as well. And once we do that, we'll let you know. I'll share my experiences, and if really things work out, ultimately that's the first step for me as well. And let's see if we can go on for a longer duration of time.
And I recommend, this is potentially a shameless plug, but my own company's website has a bunch of resources now. You can easily be vegan in Bangalore, in India. So, if you want to hack plant-based living, you could easily just check out the content we have.
The website.
It's pretty exhaustive, and I think it'll help someone be vegan easier.
Cool.
Rama Raja Raja